Palmares, an expansive autonomous settlement in northeastern Brazil, reached its zenith during the 1600s. It was founded and led by people fleeing slavery, also known as Maroons. It was one of the world's largest Maroon communities. It had a population of over 10,000 people and was constantly at odds with colonial forces. The records we have about Palmares come primarily from biased Dutch and Portuguese sources, but historians have pieced together much of its story during the transatlantic slave trade, which began in the 1500s when nearly half of all slaves were transported. Enslaved Africans were shipped to Portugal's American colony, Brazil. However, some escaped and sought refuge in Brazil's interior regions, where they established settlements known as Mocombos or Columbus fugitives from slavery. Arrived in the Northeast in the late 1500s, most likely. Their camps had consolidated into a powerful confederation known today as the Colombo of Palmares by the 1660s. It was made up of a central capital that connected dozens of villages that specialized in specific agricultural goods or served as military training grounds. Citizens of Palmares or Palmarista were ruled by a king and defended by a well-organized military. Africans, Brazilian-born blacks, and indigenous people all sought refuge. They fished, hunted, raised livestock, planted orchards, and grew crops such as cassava, corn, and sugarcane as a group. They also made use of Palmares' abundant palm trees, turning palm products into butter, wine, and like palm baristas crafted palm husks into pipes and leaves into mats and baskets. They exchanged some of these goods for products such as gunpowder and salt with Portuguese settlers. As a result, settlers avoided Palmares' raids in which they seized weapons and took captives. The Portuguese were worried about other invading imperialists but saw indigenous uprisings and palm trees as internal threats. Palmares jeopardized the institution of slavery itself, the backbone of the Brazilian economy. The Portuguese increased their attacks in the 1670s, and Ganga Zumba was Palmares' leader at the time. He ruled over Mococo, which served as the capital. His allies and family members ruled the other villages, with women playing critical roles in operations and defense as they battled the Portuguese. Palm baristas took advantage of the landscapes camouflaged and built in high places. Their combos provided better lookouts. They dug hidden ditches lined with sharp stakes that swallowed unwary soldiers and false roads that led to ambushes. To elude the Portuguese in 1678, they launched counterattacks at night and were constantly abandoning and building settlements. The Portuguese offered to negotiate a peace treaty with Ganga Zumba after years of failed attacks. They agreed on terms that recognized Palmares' independence and the freedom of anyone born there. The treaty, however, required Palmares to pledge loyalty to the crown and return all fugitives from slavery, both past and future. Many palm baristas disagreed, including Zumbi Ganga's Zumba nephew. He is a rising leader. Soon after, Ganga Zumba was likely killed by a group affiliated with his nephew as Palmares. Zumbi, the new leader, rejected the treaty and resumed resistance for another 15 years, but in February of 1690, after a devastating siege, the Portuguese captured the capital. Zumbi escaped, but they eventually found and ambushed him, and on November 20, 1695, Portuguese forces killed Zumbi. Palmares' death was not the end of the world, but it was a devastating blow. After years of fighting, there were far fewer insurgents in the area. Those who remained rallied around new leaders and maintained a small presence. Palmares, on the other hand, is no longer a key player in the 1760s. Lambros are still around today. November 20th is Zombie Day, and death is celebrated across Brazil as Black Consciousness Day, but Zumbi was just one of many palm baristas. We only know a few of their names, but their fight for freedom lives on centuries later. 95 years after Zumbi's death, a group of enslaved people rebelled against French colonial rule and founded the first nation to permanently abolish slavery. With this video, you can learn about the revolutionary who helped them achieve their freedom.